Hi, this is Dr. Graves from the CSUN Geography Department. This is part 2 of the so-called Donut Lab. And in this part, we will shift our focus away from doing a site location analysis for a warehouse and turn it to doing a site location for a donut shop itself. This kind of work, doing retail or warehouse site location or industrial site location, is a very lucrative career that a number of CSUN majors have pursued over the years, and they've had very rewarding long careers making good money doing interesting work for companies from all areas of industry. So when we left off, we had just finished up calculating the drive time. So go ahead and turn that layer off, and we can also turn off the mean centers and weighted mean center and even the warehouse operation. What I want you to turn on now is the trade area layer so that it is visible. And these are called Thiessen polygons, and what they do is surround each coffee shop in such a fashion, or a donut shop in such a fashion, so the line that exists between any donut shop and its nearest neighbor is exactly halfway. And so this, especially under the assumptions that we've learned of the hoteling model, this is the trade area, the area in which each donut shop could conceivably expect its customers to come from, that people wouldn't cross one of these lines in order to go to a more distant donut shop for donuts. So that's what we have, and underneath it is the data that we want to look at. You might think that these really big trade areas, say this one up here, or this one here, or that one here, would be the perfect place to put a coffee shop or a donut shop. But what we don't know is how many people live in that area. So this could be an area with a lot of mountains rather than a lot of people, and so it might not be a good site location. One way to understand this is to populate each of these trade areas with data regarding who lives inside. In order to do that, you will turn on the census tract centroid layer, and again, that represents just the center point, the geographic middle of the census tracts. And so if we zoom in and click on one of these census tracts, here's one down in Encino, it gives us, well, we have to turn off the trade areas. It will give us demographic data about that census tract. It's the exact same thing, and the things we're going to focus on are the income and the total number of population. The beauty of GIS, and one of its strongest functions, is that allow us to combine the data from point layer to a polygon layer. And so we could do it with trade areas, or we could do this with zip codes, or all sorts of things. Luckily, there's a tool for us in ArcGIS Online that allows us to take the sums or the averages of all of the points inside each polygon and join them together. So in order to do this, click over on the right toolbox and the tool ribbon and click on Analysis. Click on Tools, and under the Summarized Data, click Join Features. For the target layer, click on Trade Areas. So scroll down till you see Trade Areas and click on that. And then the Join layer, it will be the Census Tract centroids. We could use census tracts as well, but centroids works better in a visual way for us. We want to use a spatial relationship, so click on the slider here to turn that on, and the spatial relationship is the simplest one. We just want intersects. Note that there is within a distance or completely contains. These are other options, so intersects is what we want to use. We can leave the tool at join one to one, but we do want to summarize matching records. And so we're going to add 2 fields to our analysis. Click on plus fields, and we want to click on 2023 median household income and 2023 total population. Then click done. For the median household income, we don't want to add those up. We want just the average. So click on mean and then click on sum. Note that mean now has a blue line around it indicating that that's what we're going to calculate, and then sum for total population. So we want how many people live in each of these trade areas and what's their average household income. We can leave the join type an inner join, and we're going to give this a name, something like TA for trade areas, join, and then census tract and your name, and then perhaps a number. So you have a unique name for your map or output, which is the layer name. Click run. And if you want, click on history and you can track the progress. It'll take about a minute. In the meantime, you can turn off the trade area layer, and you can even turn off the census tract centroid. After a minute or two, you will get this sort of blue map. I'm going to close the tools window so we can focus on this. And this has all the data, but it's not rendering as a map. We note that there's 2 holes in the data because there's no centroid in either of those donut shops trade areas, but that's okay. We won't consider them. So with your new joint trade areas joined layer activated, click over on the right tool ribbon, styles. And we want to map this data twice, once by mean household income. So this is the average of the mean or median household income already. We're going to do that once, and then we will also map it by the sum of population. So let's just start with mean household income. Select it and click on add. And then it gives us this sort of peculiar color ramp map, and you can stick with this, but I'm assuming you really don't want to. I'm going to close the layer window here so we can get a better look at this. The style options allow us to make sort of cleaner maps or ones that we find more visually appealing or more visually easy to understand. So we're going to click on style options here, and I'm going to go with from a high to low map to, and I'm going to break the rules a little bit here, above and below instead. And it's going to give us this really obnoxious red and green, and so we may want to change the symbol style to a different color palette, maybe purple and green, maybe not so bad, and you're welcome to experiment with this. It's kind of fun. Change the outline color to white and drop the transparency to 0, and maybe widen the outline up a little bit so it's easier to see. And once you're happy with that part, then come over here, and what I want you to do is to note that you can change the color palette in such a way so certain colors show up. And how we want to do that is to click on the slider to the right of classified data, and you can leave it at 4 if you want, But what we want to do is to change the variable. So let's make it a nice round number, and we can change it to 100,000, and then maybe this one to 50,000, so that only certain neighborhoods show up in this light green that is less than 50,000, and then others in 100,000. And so at this point we can see where these trade groups come together. Now I'm going to zoom in on an area here that has between essentially 80 and 50,000 as the median household income. And if that was our trade group that we were wanting to look for, if that was our target demographic, we would perhaps want to put a donut shop right here in the middle of this that would cannibalize the customers from these other four, and we would have an area in the middle of those. The smaller of these areas are the least desirable, and the very large areas are the most desirable ones, especially if you think that donuts are a kind of luxury item and that you want a wealthy clientele. And so you could probably pause the video at this point. I'm going to have you change the parameters here and answer a couple of questions. So the last element of this is that we're going to click on styles again, and you can click on and off, and we want to jump back, and we want to change the map away from median household income or mean household income. So I'm going to click back, and we want to click on X here for the field and get rid of that, and then add a new field, and this is now population. So what if we were looking to locate our new donut store in a place that just had the largest population? So once again, you're looking for a large population that is poorly served, so large trade areas with lots of people. Click on style options, click on classify data once again. You can change the color palette to something that you would prefer. Maybe this blue to gold, and so that the areas in dark blue have large populations and the areas in yellow have small populations. So you would definitely, if you were looking for an area with a very large population and very few competitors, you would look in these places where these blue trade areas that indicate populations of over, in this case, about 28,000. You would want to look for those, and you would want to avoid places in the yellow where there is small trade areas and very few people. So the last questions ask you to manipulate this color ramp and reset the values that mark the boundaries between the various colors and answer a few questions. That ends this video tutorial.